You're either feeding growth or you're feeding death. You can't have a recession. So either have let's fix how we're working, or we're going to have civil unrest. If everything starts going crazy, you're just going to have civil unrest. Once you have civil unrest, it then just starts rolling. And we're going to have states and countries in civil unrest. The political system is so corrupt, it's not even fixable. We need a fight, because if you don't have a fight over it, you're going to go into a global depression. The United Kingdom and Europe, they will not last through March of next year. There will be violence in the street in England, for sure. Energy is going to be more important than religion. You will never see more consumption on this planet than you have seen in the last 3 years. If we go there, you're going to have the biggest bull market on planet Earth.
What do you think is the biggest risk economically then for the next 3 years?
This is The Real Story with Michelle Makori.
Gary, you have had an interesting track record of making comments that have raised eyebrows, and then, some of them have come true in one form or another during our, we have these conversations, and a lot of the time I sit there going, I'm not entirely sure I'm following his argument, but every now and again you drop a nugget and it does in fact actually materialize. As I said, you've had some very accurate price predictions. You also had some interesting predictions regarding American politics, the election. We had a whole conversation on that. You told me that the 2024 election would be unlike anything we'd ever seen before. You said we were taking for granted that the two candidates running would actually be there at the end of the race. As we know, Biden was not. You told me that, it would be unlike anything we'd seen before. You expected that there would be some kind of an assassination attempt. Unfortunately, that did happen when President Trump was targeted. You said that the political environment had become so unstable that people were openly questioning whether those two candidates would actually make it to election day. That turned out accurate. And again, it was a long conversation, but some highlights from that. And in a separate conversation, you also warned that we would get a war very, very soon. Your words, the charts are pointing to war. And again, discussed that at length, and that was well before the United States became directly involved in any military action in the Middle East. We pulled a few clips just to try and condense the essence of what you said there, and I'll play those now.
People are willing to actually spend minutes, if not hours, on, hey, does Trump even make it to the ballot? Does Biden make it to the ballot? I mean, we're asking really fundamental questions like, hey, the two guys that are in the lead, do they even show up? I had this conversation about, the death of one of these people. Like, one of these guys could be assassinated, and it's stunning to me that people are willing to have the conversation. It's actually something that is worth discussing and considering. I think we're going to war. You look at all the charts on everything, like, it looks like war charts to me. We have a fake market. America's lost its ability to control the whole world. This is a global market now. And people are going to print to survive. And they're going to take other actions to survive.
So you think that there'll be a global war, World War III, in order for the U.S. to maintain the dollar's supremacy?
The path we're on has only one trajectory. We'll have a global war before 10 years and establish what currency is or is not working.
Well, many people would say that part of the drivers behind the war in Iran is to maintain dollar supremacy, that the dollar status as the global reserve currency was facing too much of a challenge with the petrodollar system being attacked. You made those comments. Where are we now in that forecast, Gary? And do you have any big prognostications that you feel should be shared?
I listened to that and I'm like, God, I don't want to be saying that, but I believed it. I still believe it. I'm not trying to get like followers, so I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but I don't think we're going to have a 2026 election, 2028 election. I don't see how. Look, and I know this may not be the right area for this conversation, but I don't think you vote your way out of the problem we have. This is not a problem that is solved by a vote. It is solved by action, more action, and a lot more action. And it's not going to be a democracy or a social experiment. Let's take a vote. What does everybody want to do? Let's make sure nobody's offended. I don't. You can pick it in the next 2 years. You can pick it in the next 4, the next 10. But sooner or later, this country cannot continue to operate like it's a democracy. It isn't. It shouldn't be. It should be run like a fucking business with transparency and with leadership. And it's not. And I'm out of politics forever. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't threaten me. Do whatever you want. I will never give another penny to the political system. The political system is so corrupt, it's not even fixable. So I would rather in my lifetime to go through the issue of confronting the bullshit about America and how we're being run, who's running us, and sort this crap out. But you're not going to solve any problems. And we have many, many, many like catastrophic problems as a race and as a nation. And it ain't going to get solved with a vote. If it does, I probably is going to start looking for a passport. Like, I'm nervous, okay? I'm nervous of what would happen if an administration who just was polarized to Trump got into office. I think maybe I go to jail. Maybe I can't keep all the money I've worked my whole life for. I need leadership in this country. I don't need a professional politician. So I just, if there isn't, look, there's no recession. Okay, you can't have a recession. So either have let's fix how we're working, or we're going to have civil unrest. We will, because you cannot have people. You just look at what's happening in Spain right now. You can't keep this up. Cities are breaking down. The Mandami experiment is going, well, you live in New York. How much more of this are you going to take? Right? Like, really? I can take a little bit, but after a while, you're like, man, I'm starting to get, if all the money leaves California, you know how many people fought us? Hey, if the Googles leave California, there will be no one's going to leave. Really? When they do, though. And it happens in like volume, right? That's not good for the people that are left in California, by the way. There's no leadership left there. You see, this breaks down really, really rapidly. You're either feeding growth or you're feeding death. I think this is we have too many people wanting to vote on something that's like, bro, we need to, just the birth rate problem. Like, wow, human beings are going extinct, man. And nobody's talking about it. They're talking about their money. I'm like, you guys need to start having intercourse, dude. Unprotected. Have some babies. Go get it. You're going to be dead in 100 years. There's not going to be an organism here, man.
I'm not sure.
Seriously. By the way, if that's true, if
declining
that's your
birth rates,
GDP.
but it depends which population groups are having declining birth rates. Not all of them are having declining birth rates. But look, I spend my time in New York and in South Florida. I can definitely understand the need to leave a city where socialism is becoming prevalent. I mean, we've got the likes of Donnie and Democrats refusing to show ID for voting, but you need to show ID that you live in the city in order to qualify for these grocery stores that he's opening up with taxpayer money, asking people, which will allow you to buy goods technically cheaper, but funded by taxpayers, but you're going to need to show ID confirming that you live in New York in order to buy things at the grocery store, but you're not going to have to show ID when you vote. And I'll use that segue to go to the election, because you said you don't think there's going to be a 2028 election. That was what I heard you say that.
I said, I'm not sure. Go back to your editor and make sure. I hate editing anything. And I'm not going to ask you to edit anything. Never have asked anybody to do that. But I'm not convinced there'll be one. Because if there is one, I have a fatalistic viewpoint of how it ends. It's not going to end well, because you can't vote.
You think the Republicans will just not have another election?
Hey, I don't know. I'm not trying to create an assault on the system. But all I'm saying is you're not going to solve our problems with a vote.
that means maybe we need to fight about it. That's what I'm saying. We need a fight, because if you don't have a fight over it, you're going to go into a global depression. Okay, if everything starts going crazy, you're just going to have civil unrest. Once you have civil unrest, it then just starts rolling. And we're going to have states and countries in civil unrest. The United Kingdom and Europe, they will not last through March of next year. There will be violence in the streets in England, for sure. France, Italy, this is happening right now. No electricity, expensive electricity, no clean water, millions of migrants, dude, that are hungry. These are human beings who will kick their fucking survival gear into like total dopamine, and they won't care whose grandmother is holding that gallon of milk. They're going for the gallon of milk. This is what happens to societies when they lose their civil nature, because you lose your civil nature when you have no more enforcement of we're running wild, man, like crazy dogs, untrained dogs. So I don't mean, this is why I was interested in Bitcoin, because I'm like, wow, this place is going to shit in a handbasket, meaning the whole planet. Bitcoin should be a cool play. And that's why I keep holding the Bitcoin, because I'm so sure where we're headed. I think the Bitcoin is going to have some real value one day for a number of reasons, but they don't necessarily have to show that utilitarian use today for me. Like I held gold for a long time and it didn't do anything, and then it did. So that's what I think. I hate to say that. Okay. I mean, I've got friends calling me up going, please stop saying that. We're no longer going to invite you to Mar-a-Lago. I'm like, bro, don't invite me to Mar-a-Lago. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do anything with any of these people. I think the system is so corrupt. We have to stop playing with the system. I would rather see that. I would rather see, we're not doing this anymore because it's a lie. These votes are a lie. And by the way, I'm not qualified to vote my way through this problem. If you're in a big company and you want to have an announcement of everything, the cool things that are going on, you invite everybody in the company. But it's not really an important meeting. Okay, no decisions were made. When you're going into bankruptcy or you had a lawsuit from a federal government, there's only 2 or 3 people in the meeting. Why is that? Urgent issues are solved with leaders, not with groups of people. These people are voting, dude. They haven't read what the issues are. They have no idea what their city is doing related to the macro issues. So I'm not qualified. I'm not sure these gangsters in Washington are qualified either, but not having clarity. This is a little bit back to my Bitcoin thing. Don't tell me I have total self-custody that's outside the system when it's not, please. Please stop saying that. Don't oversell it. And I just don't think you're going to vote your way into any solution. None.
Well, it sounds like, there are a number of issues.
Do you see how we get through this by voting for a bunch of wankers, okay, who have never run businesses, and if they have, they're billionaires and they're getting paid to become the governor because they bought their way into the governorship. Seriously, I mean, this is a really broken system. I would rather have an oligarchy, quite frankly, or what is the English? A monarchy, right? A monarchy, an oligarchy, a czar, a dictator. I quite frankly would rather that. If you threw all the light on one dictator, it'd be easier to manage.
Gary, it sounds like you're questioning many things: election integrity, the very premise of democracy, whether everybody is qualified to have a say. It's a very, very big conversations. Personally, I won't weigh in too much, but I do think that the election integrity needs to be monitored and reinstated. Whether we can vote our way in and out of problems is another conversation. Whether we have a dictator, careful what you wish for there. You need a benevolent dictator. But I'll try to bring it back to some kind of focus with the economy and Bitcoin, which is how we began this conversation. What do you think is the biggest risk economically then for the next 3 years?
To Bitcoin or the whole world?
Well, considering you've woven them all together.
I did say that I am confused, okay? And I'm not sure that I have a better answer than that. If you force me into it, look, the reason I'm so hesitant, because I think all of these numbers are fake. See, I have a view that we've actually met peak demand. That you will never see more consumption on this planet than you have seen in the last 3 years. I know really rich people, they don't need or want any more Richard Mille watches or Ferraris or Bulgarias or whatever the thing is that they want to show everybody they can get an erection on. I don't know why they do this. They're big boats. They're $250 million boats. I don't think any of these people, like, they don't need anything else. And they're all growing up, by the way. They're all maturing.
Well,
I do think this GDP thing is very important, this population thing. The people that are fucking and having babies 7 at a time, they don't have any money. They are not a consumer. They are a problem to actually serve for the whole marketplace. They're going to need things. They're not a consumer. They're a problem. They're going to take up energy, and they're going to want to be fed, or they're going to do something else. So the population thing is a real thing, and the whole species is declining, on a decline. That means GDP can't grow forever and ever. Dude, if everybody's dying, where's the GDP coming from? If nobody's being born, if there's no schools, I think your lifetime in 10 years you will literally have everything at your fingertips, pay almost nothing for it. And that we'll live in a completely different economy with none of these fake metrics.
So you're seeing unlimited resources?
Unlimited and almost zero cost.
But at the same time, you said we have this population group that is having more and more children that are draining resources.
No, I didn't say they were draining. I just said they will be a drain on the resources if they have no skills or value to bring. They're going to be hungry. No one does anything if they're hungry. They commit crimes. They rape people. They steal when they're hungry. So nobody's interested in Bitcoin if they're hungry.
Fair enough. And granted, there are much bigger problems at play here. But trying to focus on the financial and economic nature of this conversation and this discussion and the nature of the show.
But I think it is tied, though, because if demand isn't there, I mean, what did we learn from this Hormuz crude oil thing? There is no demand for $175 crude oil. That's what we learned.
Is that what we learned? Or do we learn that inventories are suppressing prices because we're tapping into stockpiles and we haven't had a true price discovery, because in the meantime, we're tapping into stockpiled inventories, and only when that's tapped out, then we really know what the demand dictates in terms of price.
I would love to come on your show and talk about that, okay? Like, seriously, because I hear these guys say that, oh, wow, they're depleting. They put that crude oil in there at $28, $32. Our government's selling it at $72 and $80. Good job, government. Awesome. Hey, you're dumping the reserve. Bro, that's what it's there for. That's what it was there for, to stem these kind of events. And now we're going, hey, they're managing the market. No shit, Sherlock. They're managing the market. That's what the reserve is there for. I think it's awesome what they've done. You have people telling the world, oh my God, they're buying crude oil to fill the salt caverns up. No, they're not, dude. They're putting a distillate or water back into the salt caverns so they don't collapse. Okay, that's why there's a cost to managing storage. And it's actually good for a storage facility sometimes to be worked over. I'm not sure that's true of the strategic reserve, but so what, man? That's what the reserve is there for. I have a couple of extra guns. You look at me and go, dude, you don't need that many weapons. Well, if one breaks, I do. Okay,
Right.
now, I mean, is that dumb use of my funds? I don't know. It'll be an awesome use of my funds if I need it. And that's the same with the strategic oil reserve. By the way, they can't play that. I don't think there's as much manipulation as people think is going on. I don't believe that. I think crude oil is one of the greatest most transparent markets in the world, the least manipulated, and it's held by the largest gangsters on planet Earth. It's awesome. It's decentralized, man. That's why I say crude is the best FX on planet Earth. It's a market that you know is going to trade somewhere between $25 and $100, and it's never going to trade out of that band, ever. That is a great commodity. Okay, and you can't just make crude oil show up in Houston, Texas tomorrow morning, right? That's a really efficient market. It's global. It's decentralized. It's so decentralized they have wars over this shit. They shoot each other. It's highly it is not an encryptable product. Okay, equities, bonds, Bitcoin, tokenized real world assets, dude, it's all encrypted. I got a barrel of crude oil. I slap an Iranian flag on it. I slap a U.S. flag on it. I slap a Portuguese flag, whatever. I have a barrel of crude oil worth $65, $72 today. And nobody can track it. That is an awesome product. And I think the world may start thinking that way, man. I really, okay? Wow, energy, natural gas, fuel, crude oil, gasolines, all the distillates, they fuel the AI economy. Yet these companies, the very companies that are the foundational resource to drive that industry, gets a multiple like they're idiots. I'm referring to the energy players. I think that's going to be, energy is it's going to be more important than religion. And so that's what, like, I would look for investments there. And not so much what's being produced at the net end of using electricity.
So you're saying that in terms of commodities, you've called Bitcoin a commodity, gold, silver commodities. You're saying the commodity, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're most excited about is oil. Are you?
No,
and you do have a background in energy.
I didn't say oil. I said, hey, give me something that oil is so big. Okay, and it
All right,
can't be.
What is the commodity that you think provides the best upside at the moment?
Well, yeah, it may not. It may be a technology, right? Like I think we're gonna find the higher prices go. At $70 crude oil, there's a lot of people dusting off products and projects on, hey, how do we drill that mine over there? How do we drill that place in Alaska, right? Hey, $72, dude. Forward curve 72. We can drill it, reserve it, and bang it into the market at $62. Should we do that? We're gonna make $8. Damn right you should. So that's why energy will always be capped. It's going to go into a marketplace to meet demand when the prices go up. And then when the prices keep going up, you have demand destruction and people get very competitive. Fracking was created when crude oil was $30. It was perfected when it was $30. When the pain price, this is why I go back to the Bitcoin guys at the 3.5 million Bitcoin at $300. There's no pressure for them to do anything because their cost base is so different than mine or BlackRock's. Now that will change because we will wait these guys out. That's my play on Bitcoin. Once I get the 3.5 million distorted abortions of Bitcoin out, that people go, hey, I mined Bitcoin for $30. No, you didn't, dude. You stole the electricity is what you did. And you mined some Bitcoin. Okay. And now you have 1,000 Bitcoin at $30 and you're an anarchist. You don't know anything about business and you're and you've got a little wallet business that just got corrupted. Like this is what's happened in this industry. It just hasn't expanded. And when you interview these people, like look at all these businesses and go, has any of these companies made money through a service, a value add, right? And industries go through this though. It's the perfect stage where you have a rotation of new players who bring more capital, by the way, mental capital, understanding of how markets work, and credibility, insurability, logic, transparency.
Well, let's bring it back to oil. Do you have an outlook for crude? Do you have an oil forecast?
$30 to $75 for the rest of my life.
$30 to $75. That's okay.
for the rest of my life. It's a beautiful product. It's awesome. We probably underpay for it. It's an awesome product. Okay. But like at $100, man, every project on planet Earth is lit up. They're competing with each other. This is exactly what Bitcoin needed to do. Everybody's competing for market share. So look, in the next 3 years, I am worried about this planet. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop investing. My go-to, how do I get bullish, is I think we have more bullets left in our weapons of financial engineering to give this thing one big blast, another blast, whether it lasts 4 years or 6. But we're most certainly not going to stand in front of the Widowmaker and go, okay, we're ready to get on our knees and pay for our sins. We're not there yet, okay? We're a heroin addict. We're a dopamine addict. You got quarterly earning reviews. The whole system's built on getting paid by everybody. Everybody's got their face in the food chain of the value chain, and nobody's going to take their nose out of it until they have to. So we get efficient because we have to. We don't get efficient because it's a really smart thing to do. This is human nature. It will carry over into any organism or institution. You do not change because you need to. You change because you got to, right? Like you just don't get there logically. So that's why I said, hey, because there's no good result with a vote in 2 years. Where are we going to end up? 50% of the people are going to be massively pissed off. So you're not going to make any progress. You would never run a company this way. You would never run your family this way. Never in a million years.
And just to summarize here, Gary, in terms of how people can financially protect themselves or prepare for this, you used to say Bitcoin was an answer. Is it still an answer? How do people protect themselves for all of this uncertainty that you see ahead, financially speaking?
Well, I think that if we go back and listen to the last Fed chair, was it the Fed chair or it was one of the big heavyweight guys, and he was at a governor's conference. I think it was maybe Besant. And he said, listen, no, the Joe consumer have not had access to this market. The pensions have not had access to the IPO markets, the future markets, the SpaceX, the next digital world that we're going to. I think the United States government is going to buy, support, invest in, take shares in every major company like every other sovereign does, by the way. The United States of America has a bunch of corporations, and they're fighting against corporations that have sovereign support. Monetary, fiscal, financial, leverage, who knows who. We're the only country in the world where you don't have mass adoption by the government of, I own 10% of this. If we go there, you're going to have the biggest bull market on planet Earth. Dude. That's what I would do, okay? I would reduce taxation a bit, and I would say, hey, everybody's going to get to play in the Wall Street party. You guys hang on for 4 years. We're investing in the Mars shot, the moon shot. Because I think this is a whole Hail Mary, man. We're a Hail Mary because we have so many. I've not mentioned the $40 trillion of debt one time because it will never get paid back. It will never get paid back. None of this has ever been paid back. Debt is not supposed to be repaid. It's supposed to give you a subscription income stream. So, and I do think if we get through 3 or 4 years, Michelle, you and I will be living like absolute kings with robots serving us with the perfect everything. Living in an ideal world, never having to lift a finger and drinking champagne and pissing pure urine out for the rest of our life. Oh, and we're going to live 150 years in perfect performing shape of a 20-year-old. Now that is an economy I can get behind.
Well, I'll take that.
And the peptides market, of course, is going to save the day.
Well, that is a whole other conversation, which we will have to have you back on for because we're out of time for this one. But I like that we have a somewhat positive note to wrap up the conversation today, Gary. It is always interesting. It is always intriguing. It is always a colorful, entertaining, educational, and informative conversation. Gary Cardone, thank you very much.
Peace.
And as always, a big thank you for watching. Thank you for spending your time with us. We know that your time is very valuable, and we really appreciate you choosing to spend it here with us. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please do share our content and help us grow this community. Also, follow me and Miles Franklin Media on X and Instagram. As always, please leave us your comments. We love your feedback. I may not always agree with some of the comments. I like the sweet ones as well as the spicy ones, but I always enjoy reading them. So feel free to praise, whine, or just opine. And if you would like to learn more about building a precious metal strategy, reach out to info@milesfranklin.com. There is a team of specialized advisors and brokers that can guide you. Also, check out the website, milesfranklin.com. We will see you soon. Until then, stay sovereign.
This is The Real Story with Michelle Makori.